So welcome. We're going to be working a lot today on pelvic tilting. And one of the things that 2 weeks ago, we did some simple mobilization and strengthening and stretching exercises just to get you some, get to know this region of your body a little bit better. But today we're going to be working on something called pelvic tilting, which some of you are very familiar with and some of you might not be familiar with. So the question is, okay, why is pelvic tilting enough to make a whole workshop important enough to work on pelvic tilting? And that's what we're going to be working on today. So let's change views now for me.
What happened?
Okay. So we're going to be working on the pelvis today. And the pelvis is this region right in here. And pelvis in Latin actually means basin. So it's this part of our anatomy right in here. And I'll use this as a little prop. This is sort of a basin. And this basin that we have is critical in our body. It supports our lower body and our hip movements, and it also supports our spine and clear on up to our neck and our chest cavity. So the pelvis has a tremendous importance in our bodies. So it's right in here, and then I'll use this as the prop. It's composed of bones on the sides. That's called the ilium. It's composed on bones on the backside and called the ischium. And it's got right in here called the pubis bone. And in this region, in this basin here, you're holding your guts, you're holding your intestines, you're holding your bladder, you're holding your internal sex organs. This is holding a lot of stuff right in here. And it's pretty unique in that because it's right here and sort of the middle ground of our bodies, between our upper bodies and our lower bodies, it's got a tremendous amount of importance. And today we're going to be working on this tilting, and I'll go into it again and again and again as to what tilting is about. It's not, anybody can bend forward like this and bend back like this. This is not tilting. Tilting is, I'm going to use this as the prop. So pretend that this is the front part of your pelvis. This is the back part of your pelvis. Most people, and it's perfectly normal, to have a little bit of an anterior tilt, meaning that the front part of your pelvis drops down. But we think that it's about 7% is perfectly normal to have. But what happens is when we have an anterior tilt, which is considered an anterior tilt beyond the 7%, it tilts a lot like this. Now, posterior tilt is the other way, where it's tilting the other way, where you have a sort of a flattened back. And many of us have heard about tilting. You'll be in a class and they'll say, tuck your tailbone. Well, that's a posterior tilt. Anterior tilt is here. You also have lateral tilting as well. So if there's a muscle back here called the quadratus lumborum, and that's one of its main purpose is for lateral bending. Well, your pelvis, your side bones, should be pretty balanced, like so. But when the quadratus lumborum gets shortened and tight, it kind of goes down like this, and then next thing you know, you have one leg that's longer than the other, and it's not really longer than the other, or it could be the other way around. It's not really longer than the other. It just happens that maybe the muscle imbalance back here in your quadratus lumborum has gotten shorter and weaker, and we call this tighter. So then you'll go to a doctor, and the doctor will will measure your legs. Or maybe you'll go to a chiropractor and measure your legs. Say, oh, your right leg is a half an inch longer than your left leg, or something like that. And maybe you'll pull on the leg or something like to get your legs in balance. Well, that's only a temporary fix. What we want to take a look at is, can we make the muscles that are controlling all of this to do the work for us, that maybe you don't have one leg longer than the other. So when we talk about the anterior tilt, which I was pointing to here, where the front part of the pelvis is going down excessively, what's happening there? Why is that happening? And that's what we're going to be working on today. You have muscles that go down the front of your legs called the quadratus lumborum, the quadriceps. And one of the muscles that's right down the center is the rectus femoris. That's one of your hip flexors. And then you have the iliacus and the iliopsoas, and they help flex the hips. Okay, so now we want to flex the hips. We want to be able to not just push our bellies forward and push our butts back. So come to standing, please. And all we're going to do is, I want you to think of this region that starts like this, and tuck your tailbone under, and then push it back, and under, and back, almost as if it's a wheel. Do this a few times, and you'll probably start to notice that just making this wheel turn one way and turn the other way causes that you have to use muscles to do so. For some of you, this might be very easy to do, and for some of you, this might be pretty darn difficult. There seems to be some sort of a statistic that says that anterior tilting, where you're pushed down like this, is way more common than posterior tilting like this. So we're talking about this, like, what is going on? Why is anterior tilting a common problem? And one of the reasons is that our hip flexors, that I talked about before, the rectus femoris and the psoas, becomes very weakened and shortened, a lot from just plain old sitting. Plain old sitting, when a muscle gets shortened, shortened, it gets very tight. So what we've been working on today is, what can we do to take these muscles that are causing this anterior tilt, and you might have a posterior tilt, or you might have no tilt at all. That's fine, but the exercises that we're going to be doing today are going to address whether it's posterior tilt, anterior tilt, lateral tilts, or no tilts at all, to give you an ability to be able to move this pelvis in a way that's going to really support you. So let's do just to start with a little bit of a simple warm-up. Come to your chair, if you're not on your chair now. Have your feet be about hip distance apart. And now, slide your feet back, maybe just a couple of inches, so your knees are maybe in line with your toes, rather than straight down, maybe a little bit of an angle. Bring your arms out here in front of you, shoulder height. And we're going to go up and down, but what I want you to do is, when you sit down, don't just collapse on down. Sit down and spring right back up again, keeping your arms just like this. So let's go up and down and up and down. Just a little bit of a warm-up we're doing now for this region. Look straight ahead, arms at shoulder height. Don't put a lot of weight on your butt when you sit down. Make sure your knees are not knocking towards each other. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Catch your breath. Just a little bit of a warm-up right now. I want you to get a sense, by the way, now, on the next one, we're going to do some lunges. Simple lunges only to demonstrate to yourself as to what kind of movement or lack of movement you have in this pelvis region. So if you need to, hold on to something for balance, which is just fine to do, and then take a step forward and have your feet be wide enough apart, left to right, but you don't feel like you're walking on a tightrope. Take a nice big step, maybe take a step backwards with your back foot now. And now stand as upright as you can. For some of you, that might feel like you're leaning backwards. That's just fine. Now, keeping this absolutely vertical posture, start to lower down. Notice how there'll be a tendency to maybe want to lean forward. Avoid that. Only go down to the point where you know that your back leg, especially the front of your back quadriceps, your front of your left or your back thigh, is really feeling some nice stretch. And release. And go to the other side. Other foot forward, other foot back, nice big wide step. Come on down as straight as you can, trying to make that back thigh go perfectly straight down towards the floor. Don't help it by leaning forward. Still keep that straight up and down posture that you've got. And come back up to standing. So keep in mind that muscle imbalance is one of the biggest or the major cause of improper movement or difficult movement. So we want to take a look at how can we balance the muscles out, balance so you have just as much strength in your flexors as you have in your extensors. We talk about the flexors as these muscles in the front. Well, the extensors are your gluteals and your hamstrings. We want to see if we can balance that out, and along with your abdominal muscles. So when we go into anterior tilting, what you've got is you've got tight, you may have tight quadricep muscles that have gotten shortened because we do so much sitting. And we also have a muscle in the back called latissimus dorsi, which starts up here, by your shoulder and connects all the way down to the pelvis. And when that gets weakened and shortened and tight, it's bringing your the back part of your pelvis up, and the shortened rectus femoris in the front is dragging your pelvis down forward. So this is an exaggeration, but this is what an anterior tilt could look like. The hips are raising way up because the shortened latissimus dorsi here. The front of the pelvis is pulled down because of weakened and shortened rectus femoris here, as opposed to the latissimus dorsi here. And your abdominal muscles in the middle are not strong enough to bring them back into a neutral place. So we start walking around like this. Now, I doubt any of you in this workshop this morning are walking around like this. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're on that range, that you're going more and more into anterior tilting, but because of all the sitting that we do. So now let's go into some real good exercises now. And after the workshop, if you want a list of very specific exercises for either anterior tilting, posterior tilting, or lateral tilting, send me an email or give me a call, and I'll send you a list of exercises for you to do to strengthen those areas. Strengthen, not just strengthen, but strengthen and lengthen those exercises, those muscles. Because once a muscle gets weak, it gets shorter and tighter. So let's come to standing. And go back against a wall. With your back to the wall, stand as upright as you can, and take one foot, clasp your hands around your knee, and then pull that knee up as high as you can. Dorsiflex your foot. Now squeeze yourself a little bit higher. Now what we're doing is a tremendous hip flexion right now, and then from here, let go with your hands without your foot even dropping 1 inch. So squeeze it up and hold it there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, hold it higher, 3, 2, 1, and down. Let's try the other side. Bring your foot up, squeeze, bring it up nice and high, dorsiflex your ankle, squeeze nice and tall, and remember, when you let go with your hand, not even a little bit of movement here, and let go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower down. That may have given you some indication of the strength or weakness of your front rectus femoris muscle. If that was very difficult for you to do, that's saying that should be saying to yourself, okay, this has gotten shorter than it needs to be and weaker than it needs to be. I need to do some stuff to strengthen this muscle. Maybe it means just not sitting so many hours every day. Okay, lay down on your back. By the way, the props that you're going to need today is a chair and a nice thick towel. But for right now, all I want you to do is just lay down on the floor, on your back. Give yourself a posterior tilt. Tuck your tailbone under. And just breathe from your belly to your chest, still maintaining the posterior tilt. Notice if your ribs want to flare up. Can you do this posterior tilt? Now, bring your arms up over your head behind you. Keep your posterior tilt. Tucking your tailbone under, that's what I mean by posterior tilt. Breathe. Belly, chest. Holding your posterior tilt the entire time. For some of you, this might be almost impossible to do. If you're finding this being very difficult, if you are, that says to me that maybe the muscles have gotten so shortened from your anterior tilting that this is simple movement to do. Lower your arms down. We're going to stretch now the muscle that I talked about before, the one that's in the middle of your thigh. So get your chair. you might want to have a cushion on your, or a folded towel on your seat of the chair. Come onto your hands and knees. And now take one foot, doesn't matter which one, doing both, and put your foot up on the chair. And then just rock back and forth a few times. We don't want to push into a full stretch yet. If a muscle is cold and you do a long, full stretch, the muscle will object. And now take your front foot and bring it forward. And again, just rock back and forth a few times. Now here's where it's going to be a little bit tricky. I want you to come up, but not just come up. I want you to have this posterior tilt of your hips. So really feel that this is a wheel, this whole pelvic area is a wheel, and you're pushing your hip forward into this posterior tilt, coming up as upright as you can. Hold. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Is your butt back by your heel? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Let's do the other side. Put your other foot up onto the front of your seat. Make sure you have some cushioning maybe under your knee as well, whatever you need to protect yourself. Bring your left foot forward and then just rock back and forth a few times just to loosen up that front thigh muscle, the rectus femoris, before we go into a full stretch. Now, start to sit up and tuck your tailbone under as you come to as close to vertical as you can. With your hips, maybe your heel is touching your buttocks, maybe it's not. Notice if there's a difference from one foot to the other. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release slowly. Come to all fours, wiggle around, do whatever you need to do to give yourself a loosening a bit. So this next exercise is going to focus on something called the tensor fascia lata, which is also a hip flexor, but it's more to the outside and front part of the hips. You can move your chair around. You can move your chair out of the way. You might want to have some cushioning for your knee, maybe, if you want. I'm going to put some cushioning down for my back knee. So I'm on hands and knees. Then I'm going to bring my right foot forward. And once again, make sure that it's wide enough so you don't feel like you're going to flop on over. Be as upright as you can, and now tuck your tailbone under. Tuck it under. So your right foot is forward. Bring your left arm up to the sky. Tuck that tailbone. Keep it tucked under as you then bend to the right. you should feel a beautiful stretch on the outside of your left hip. Breathe. Have your arm be as close to your ear as you can, so it's not out in front of you, but it's way back, as lateral as can be, for 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, change sides. So now will be your right knee down on the behind you. Left foot forward. Nice big step. Sorry about that. Be as upright as you can be. Raise your right arm up to the sky, and then go way over to the left. Stretching out that whole outside of your right hip. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Go back to the first side now. Now instead of the tensor fascia lata, what we're going to be working on is just a simple, very relaxed hip stretch that I think you'll really appreciate. So this time your left knee will be down, right knee will be forward, but this time I want you to take your right arm, the arm that's alongside of the right foot that's forward, and bring that up to the sky, to the side as far as it can go. Lean into that side, lean to the right, and now bring that right hand back, looking at your hand. You can have your left hand on your right knee, twist. Look back at your hand. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come out of it and switch. Right knee down, left foot forward.
Hey Matt, your camera's pretty low. We can't see what your upper body's doing there.
Okay. Thank you. That looks better, I think. Okay. Left foot forward, left hand on my, right hand on my left knee. Bring my left arm up, lean to the left as far as you can go. And now let your left hand go back, following your gaze with your eyes. Look at your left hand, twist. Maybe twist a little further. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come out of the twist. Nice. So you notice that the first one stretched your tensor fascia lata, the outside part of your hip flexor, and the next one just twisted or stretched your whole hip region. So you can actually do one right after the other. It's nicely. There's a type of stretching called PNF, which is proprioceptor which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Big fancy words. But what we're trying to do right now is, remember I talked earlier about the latissimus dorsi, this muscle back here, being perhaps weak, perhaps shortened, perhaps pulling the pelvis up in the back. We're going to see what we can do about using this PNF to kind of stretch it and strengthen it. And what PNF stands for is you're contracting a muscle and stretching it at the same time. It's a sort of an advanced type of stretch. So put your chair in front of you. If you need some padding on your chair, this is might be a good time just to put a towel or of some sort on your chair. I'll be on my hands and knees like so. Clasp your hands, put your elbows on the chair. Clasp your hands. I'm going to demonstrate this once, and then we'll actually do it together. So I'm backing away enough where I can drop my head down in between my elbows. Now, I'm not just dropping it down like this to relax it. I really want to take my hand, when I tell you to do so, as if I'm driving my elbow strongly down into the chair. So it's not just resting here, it's pushing down. So get in position, elbows up to the chair, clasp your hands, drop your head down, and now push really hard with your elbows. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. We're going to do this 2 more times. Make sure you really are pressing strongly down with your elbows. This is going to be a beautiful stretch for your latissimus dorsi. Okay, let's get ready to do it again. Drop your head down. Push your elbows down hard for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. We'll do this 1 more time. If you're doing this properly, you'll probably be a little bit out of breath. I sure am. Remember, you're driving your elbows down hard into the chair as much as you can. Okay, let's go ahead and do this again. Head down in between your elbows. Press. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Nice. Come to your hands and your knees. If you want to have some cushioning under your knees, by all means do. And all I want you to do is cat-cow. Now you remember, for those of you who are into yoga, cat-cow is rounding your back and tucking your tailbone and up like this. I want to be more, you want to be focusing more on your hips right now than on your thoracic spine. So just move around in whatever way feels right for you. But feel while you're doing this, are you getting this rotation in your pelvic region? Are you doing anterior, posterior tilting? Maybe side to side as well. What do you need? Your hips, your pelvis region is your pelvis region, not mine. And release, and come down onto your backs. Knees are bent. Now think again and again, I'm going to keep reminding you about this, tucking your tailbone. It's like so many times I'll see people and they'll do, say, bridge in yoga, and they'll just go up and down like this. I mean, I'm doing it fast, without getting that pelvic tilt. So put your hands on your hip bones and feel your back flattening. That's a posterior tilt. And now exaggerate and go the other way and get that big arch in your back. Back and forth and back and forth. Go to one extreme, flattening your back, and then arching your back as much as you can. Don't sell out on yourself. Really press, press. Imagine that when you're doing a posterior tilt, that you're trying to squish something down into your mat. All this is, whether you have a posterior tilt, no tilt, or an anterior tilt, doing a simple exercise like this, just going back and forth from posterior to anterior, wakes up those muscles that are so desperately needed. A few more seconds. Going one direction and the other, and feeling it with your hands that you really are making the tilting go in one direction or the other. And release. I want to deactivate the hip flexors right now because core flexion and hip flexion movements can be confusing, especially if one set of muscles is stronger or weaker than the other. So this next exercise is to deactivate the hip flexors so the abdominal flexors can take over. Remember, I talked about the importance of having strong abdominal muscles. They also affect our ability to move our hips in the tilting directions. So here, we're going to have your back to your chair. You can put your heels on the chair. And instead of having your butt close to the chair, come back and maybe have a bit of an angle. Now, this can be up or down, it doesn't matter. Your hands can be on your chest or behind your head. But what we want to do right now is we want to lift the hips up off the mat, just a couple of inches. Just so now you're having to activate your glutes. Tighten your butt. Tighten it up tight. And now, either with your hands behind your head or on your chest, heels are down. Now, crunch up a few inches and down. And down. And 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. And release down. I'm putting myself a little bit closer, but not much. Notice by doing it that way, as opposed to having your hips down and just having your up and down like so, what a difference it makes to have to use these muscles in this region. Let's go ahead and do it again. So up you come, just a couple of inches, either having your hands on your chest or behind your head, either way. Up and down, up and down. Squeeze your abs. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. I bet your glutes are feeling it a little bit. Remember, here we have the biggest muscle in our, called your gluteals, and what do we do with them? We squish them all day long, many hours every day, in just seating. Just a second. Okay. Lay down your back, not your chair now. Bring your hands in, your knees in closer than 90 degrees. Hold it right. Take your hands and reach them forward as far as you can and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 is part of your neck. You can put one hand behind your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower your feet down. You can either repeat the same thing that we just did, or bring your feet up, bring your feet out further than 90 degrees, and lift up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Feet come down. Knees in. Hands to your thighs. Push your knees away or push your thighs away. Push for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Again. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. One more time. Push. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet come down. Flatten your back. Posterior tilt to your pelvis. Knees in. Feet up. Straighten your legs as much as you can, just whatever that means for you. And as you inhale, bring your right arm back behind you, left foot forward as close to the floor as you can, and then reverse the other way. Trying not to let your back create a big space in your lower back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Waking up your hip flexors a lot. Bring the chair back to where it was before. Lay back on your back like you did before. Move your butt away from it a little bit. Lift your butt up a couple of inches. Arms alongside of your body. Now reach for your right heel. Reach for your left. Back and forth. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Interesting little movements for your buttocks. Back up to the wall, whatever wall you're going to be near. And we're going to test your hip flexors again. So have your hands alongside of your body, back up against the wall, and now lift, dorsiflex, and lift your right foot up as high as it's willing to go. Hold it, down. Left foot, up, down. Right foot, up, down. Left foot, up. Let's keep on doing this on your own. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Don't let yourself slide away from the wall. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. This time we're going to do the same one that we just did, except as one foot is coming up, I want your other arm to go forward as if you were sort of running. So there won't be any hold on here now, but lift your foot up as high as it's willing to go and with the other arm going. So it'll look like this. Up, 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 up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And release. Oh. That's it. Hope you learned something about your hip flexors and extensors in this little workshop today. Once again, if you have any questions or if you want a whole series of exercises to do for posterior tilting, anterior tilting, whatever seems to be your whatever you want, send me a video or send me an email and I'll send you a list of exercises specifically for your anatomy. I don't know about you, but that was pretty tiring. So you can unmute and comments, questions, please fire away.